G'day folks, and welcome to this video on La Bataille maps in context. For this part I'm going to focus on the 4 games from the 100 Days War, in particular that Waterloo campaign in northern France and Belgium. I'll be focusing on these 4 publications. These are all the first edition versions of these titles. Keep in mind that some of them have been published as second editions, which I'll talk about. So starting in the bottom left we have the La Bataille de les Quatre Bras, designed of course by Ed Wimble, published by Clash of Arms Games. The first edition came out in 1991, but this was of course published as a beautiful, even more beautiful second edition in 2005. La Bataille de Ligny was designed by Ed Wimble and published by Clash of Arms Games, first edition in 1991, and again that beautiful second edition from 2016. And then we have the first edition La Bataille de Wavre, published in 1994, and the kind of campaign game bringing these all together, La Bataille de Montséjon, which was published in 1993. And again, this has very recently been re-released as an outstanding second edition, a deluxe second edition by Clash of Arms Games in 2019. There is also an expansion kit second edition, much like this, which complements your second edition copies of Quatre Bras and Ligny if you already had those. Again, all designed by Ed Wimble, most of the map art by Rick Barber. I think he also received some help by Charles Kibler, Terry Leeds, Timothy Schleif, Robert Tunstall, William Wallen, and again all published by Clash of Arms Games. These are the 4 battles, part of that Waterloo campaign in northern France and Belgium. I want to start by placing these maps in the local situation, giving some local context. And of course, this all began here at Quatre Bras and Ligny. These are all made up of 22 by 34 inch maps. So Quatre Bras is a 22 by 34 inch map. 4 of these make up Ligny, and likewise 4 of these make up Montséjon, whilst 2 of these maps make up Wavre. So Wavre is in effect half the size of Waterloo and Ligny, and Quatre Bras is again one of those maps. Again, let's focus on Quatre Bras, and you can see how close this is to Ligny. This is in effect a meeting engagement between Napoleon and Wellington's forces. These allied Anglo-Dutch interstate force that he had brought together in Belgium. Napoleon's plan was to, in effect, drive a wedge between Wellington on the left and Blucher on the right, and you'll get a sense of that in just a moment when I zoom out. He was driving along the Brussels-Charleroi road. Charleroi is just off the map down here. Brussels is just off the map to the north, which you'll see again in just a moment. Quatre Bras is also located on the important Nivelles-Namur east-west road, which also passes near Ligny, Saint-Amand, and a few other key locations along here. These maps can be linked together to play Quatre Bras and Ligny simultaneously, side by side. You can see where they overlap. There's a slight overlap of the maps and these main roads linking the 2 battles together. Again, keep in mind they were in gunshot sound of each other. There's the potential for sort of forces to move between the 2 battles, as almost happened historically. There certainly was movement between these roads, particularly by the French. The French certainly clearly defeated the Prussians at Ligny, and the Prussians rushed to the north to retreat, being pursued by the French, and in particular this force under Grouchy, whilst Napoleon then focused his efforts on this left Brussels-Charleroi road to drive towards Brussels and against Wellington's allied force. They then of course met along this elevated terrain just south of Montséjon. You can see Montséjon here, Plancenoit here, Waterloo just off the map to the north. And again, I think this gives you a sense of how close this was to Wavre. Wavre on the river, just out here to the right. Grouchy's forces pushed up here and kind of were held by this Prussian delaying force, whilst the bulk of these Prussian forces traverse these roads through the woods out here and, well, as we now know, defeated Napoleon in battle. So, as I said, Napoleon was trying to drive a wedge between these 2 forces. He was trying to separate them and, in effect, pick them off one at a time. And I think placing these maps side by side gives you a sense of how close he came, how close Grouchy was to potentially helping Napoleon. Obviously it's much easier for Blucher to move through here than it was for Grouchy to come around and support Napoleon. A longer march, of course. Let's place this in a larger context and you'll see sort of what I'm talking about. Here's Brussels, here's Charleroi here. Here is the main north-south road through this area. And again, you can see those east-west roads, and you see a sense of where these forces were moving and what they were trying to do. Antwerp, of course, further up to the north. Ghent, always a vital city in this region for military campaigns. Now, this is a campaign situation, but of course this is part of that broader War of the Seventh Coalition, and there was other stuff going on at the time. So I've taken this map and I've placed it on this larger map showing what's happening in the broader war. There was almost a civil war in Provence and Brittany. There was Schwarzenberg with a massive force coming through from Bavaria in the east. There's the Neapolitan War at the time, which I know so very little about. But of course, this has long been the focus of our attention. This is where Napoleon focused his efforts and where ultimately he was defeated. That gives you a sense of those 4 battles. All published by Clash of Arms Games, all designed by Ed Wimble, art mainly by Rick Barber. And again, these are the first edition copies. This is mostly what I've played over, but they are still, for games that are 30 plus years old, they are beautiful maps, beautiful counters, and it's nice to get a sense of how where they fit within that broader operational campaign strategic context.